Rosemary Ndlovu. The name sent chills down the spines of those who knew her story. She was once a respected figure, a South African policewoman sworn to protect. But behind her badge and uniform lurked a heart of darkness. Ndlovu's story wasn't one of upholding the law. It was a chilling tale of betrayal, greed, and cold-blooded murder. Ndlovu's transformation from protector to predator shocked South Africa and the world. How could someone entrusted with upholding justice turn into a ruthless killer? What drove her to such extremes? The answers, as they unraveled in court, painted a disturbing portrait of a woman consumed by greed. Ndlovu's case captivated the nation. It was a story ripped from the headlines, a stark reminder that evil can lurk beneath the most unassuming surfaces. Her trial revealed a cunning mind and a chilling disregard for human life. The woman in blue had become a predator, and her prey were those closest to her. Rosemary Ndlovu's journey into darkness began quietly, fueled by a growing hunger for wealth and material possessions. She craved a life beyond her means, a life of luxury and ease. But instead of seeking legitimate ways to improve her circumstances, she chose a path of darkness. She turned her murderous gaze on her own family, seeing them not as loved ones, but as stepping stones to her desires. Ndlovu's weapon of choice? Insurance fraud. She meticulously took out life insurance policies on her victims, her own flesh and blood. Her cousin, her sister, her boyfriend, all became pawns in her twisted game. With each policy, she inched closer to her goal, her heart growing colder with every life she stole. Her crimes were calculated and ruthless. She would lure her victims into dangerous situations, orchestrating their deaths to look like accidents or natural causes. All the while, she played the grieving relative, shedding crocodile tears while raking in the insurance payouts. Her deception was as cold as it was convincing. Rosemary Ndlovu was a master manipulator. She carefully crafted a public persona of a loving relative, a grieving partner, all the while plotting the demise of those around her. She used her charm and charisma to disarm her victims, lulling them into a false sense of security. They never suspected the danger that lurked beneath her friendly demeanor. Her colleagues at the police station knew her as a dedicated officer. They saw her as a professional, someone committed to upholding the law. Little did they know that behind her badge and uniform, she harbored a dark secret. Ndlovu's double life was a testament to her ability to deceive. She moved through life with an air of normalcy, all the while carrying out her sinister plans. Her ability to compartmentalize, to separate her murderous intentions from her everyday life, was chilling. It spoke to a profound disconnect, a chilling lack of empathy for her victims. As Ndlovu's body count rose, so too did the suspicion surrounding her. Whispers began to circulate. People started to notice the unsettling pattern of deaths in her life. But Ndlovu was always one step ahead, spinning elaborate lies to deflect suspicion. She wove a web of deceit so intricate that it seemed impossible to unravel. She had an answer for everything, a justification for every death. She played the victim, claiming she was cursed, that some unseen force was targeting her loved ones. Her performance was convincing, keeping the authorities at bay for a time. But the truth has a way of surfacing. As the deaths mounted, the inconsistencies in Ndlovu's stories became increasingly apparent. The police began to connect the dots, piecing together the puzzle of her crimes. And what they uncovered was a picture of pure evil. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Ndlovu's case was the sheer callousness with which she targeted her own family. These were people who loved and trusted her, people who believed she had their best interests at heart. But for Ndlovu, they were nothing more than commodities, their lives worth only the sum of their insurance policies. Her cousin, witness Madala Homu, was among her first victims. He was found dead in 2012. His death initially ruled a suicide. But as investigators would later discover, Ndlovu had orchestrated his murder, collecting a hefty insurance payout after his demise. The pattern continued with chilling precision. Her sister, Audrey Ndlovu, met a similar fate. Her death disguised as a hit-and-run accident. Even her own boyfriend, Maurice Mabasa, wasn't spared. He was found dead in his home, stabbed to death. Ndlovu, of course, played the grieving girlfriend, all the while pocketing the money from his life insurance policy. What drove Rosemary Ndlovu to commit such heinous acts? The answer, it seemed, was a toxic cocktail of greed, materialism, and a profound lack of empathy. She was consumed by a desire for a lifestyle she couldn't afford, and she was willing to do whatever it took to attain it. Ndlovu's story is a cautionary tale about the corrosive power of greed. It shows how the relentless pursuit of material wealth can warp one's moral compass, leading to unthinkable acts of cruelty and violence. Ndlovu's desire for a life of luxury blinded her to the sanctity of human life, turning her into a monster. Her story serves as a stark reminder that true happiness cannot be found in material possessions. It lies in the connections we forge, the love we share, and the legacy we leave behind. Ndlovu, in her pursuit of fleeting pleasures, sacrificed everything that truly mattered: her family, her freedom, and her soul. In the end, Rosemary Ndlovu's reign of terror came to an end, not through some stroke of luck or a sudden pang of conscience, but through the meticulous work of law enforcement. The police, alerted by the suspicious pattern of deaths surrounding Ndlovu, launched a covert investigation. They placed her under surveillance, carefully documenting her movements and communications. Their efforts paid off when they intercepted a chilling phone call. Ndlovu was heard discussing plans with hitmen to murder her own mother and her 5 children. She intended to collect on their insurance policies, adding their deaths to her gruesome tally. This time, however, her plan was thwarted. The police moved in, arresting Ndlovu before she could claim any more victims. The evidence against her was overwhelming. Phone records, witness testimonies, and financial transactions all pointed to her guilt. In 2021, Rosemary Ndlovu was convicted on 6 counts of murder, 4 counts of attempted murder, and numerous other charges related to fraud and obstruction of justice. She was sentenced to 6 life terms in prison. Her reign of terror finally brought to an end. The trial of Rosemary Ndlovu sent shockwaves through South Africa. People struggled to comprehend how a woman who had sworn to protect and serve could commit such horrific acts. The courtroom was packed with journalists, legal experts, and members of the public, all eager to catch a glimpse of the woman who had become synonymous with evil. Throughout the trial, Ndlovu maintained her innocence, claiming she was a victim of circumstance. But the evidence against her was too strong to ignore. Prosecutors presented a compelling case, detailing her intricate schemes and the cold-hearted efficiency with which she had disposed of her victims. The prosecution's case was bolstered by the testimonies of those who had been closest to Ndlovu. Her surviving family members, still reeling from the shock and grief of their loss, took the stand, detailing their relationships with her and the events leading up to the deaths of their loved ones. Their testimonies provided a glimpse into the manipulative and calculating nature of the woman they had once trusted. The impact of Rosemary Ndlovu's crimes extended far beyond the courtroom. Her surviving family members were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives, grappling with the emotional fallout of her betrayal. They had lost loved ones in the most horrific way imaginable, their deaths orchestrated by someone they had trusted implicitly. The trauma inflicted by Ndlovu's actions ran deep. Her surviving children, robbed of their mother and siblings, faced an uncertain future, forever marked by the tragedy that had befallen their family. The emotional scars of her betrayal would likely linger for generations, a constant reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the human heart. Ndlovu's case highlighted the devastating ripple effects of violence and betrayal. It showed how acts of cruelty can reverberate through families and communities, leaving behind a legacy of pain and suffering. The healing process for those affected by her crimes would be long and arduous, requiring time, support, and a commitment to rebuilding their lives. The Rosemary Ndlovu case sent a collective shudder through South Africa, forcing the nation to confront the dark side of human nature. It served as a stark reminder that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places, even within the ranks of those sworn to uphold the law. Ndlovu's story became a cautionary tale, a chilling example of how greed, unchecked ambition, and a lack of empathy can twist a person's soul. Her case also sparked broader conversations about societal issues, such as the allure of quick wealth and the desperation that can drive individuals to commit heinous acts. It highlighted the need for greater awareness of financial literacy and ethical decision-making, particularly in communities struggling with poverty and inequality. In the aftermath of the trial, As the nation grappled with the enormity of Ndlovu's crimes, there was a sense of collective determination to learn from this dark chapter. There were calls for greater vigilance within law enforcement agencies, as well as increased support for victims of crime and their families. The echoes of Ndlovu's betrayal would continue to resonate, serving as a reminder of the importance of safeguarding the vulnerable and holding those in positions of power accountable for their actions.